as to directly send people to hunt him down. If that was the case, He Fan wouldn't have said anything. The key point was that they actually failed. So? He Fan's expression was as dark as water. You sent people to hunt him down and failed. He Kitchen's expression was embarrassed. That was just an accident. And then there was a second accident and you failed? He Fan's expression was filled with ridicule. In the past, He Kitchen could be considered a clear-headed person. How could he do such a muddle-headed thing one after another now? I think you've really been blinded by anger. You're simply extremely stupid. He Lynching hurriedly opened his mouth to plead for mercy. Uncle, don't be angry. Father did these things because of me. That Lin Bai is really too evil. I received news that he was expelled from the Alchemist Association and was seriously injured. He didn't have the strength to fight back at all. That's why I was prepared to attack. I originally thought that there would be no mistakes, but in the end, he was too embarrassed to continue. He Fan added coldly, in the end, you were completely annihilated. Not only did you waste the He family's manpower, but you also formed this deadly enmity. You guys should reflect on yourselves. After saying this, He Fan turned around and left, leaving He Kitchen and He Lynching looking at each other. He Lynching said somewhat anxiously, what should we do now? He Kitchen's expression was still calm. Don't worry, Big Brother has always doted on you. Although he spoke harshly this time, I don't think he will do anything to us. There's just one thing. He pondered for a moment and said, your uncle abhors people who disobeys his orders the most, especially those who agree on the surface and disobey secretly. I only hope that he can be appeased as soon as possible this time. But Lin Bai, now that we've sent people to kill him twice, we've already formed a deadly enmity. This time, even if Big Brother wants to be kind, he won't be able to. He can only make a move on Lin Bai. Otherwise, Lin Bai won't let our He family off so easily. He Kitchen's eyes revealed a hint of viciousness that made people shudder. Who knows, Big Brother might still stand on our side in the end. Chen Yin and the others finally heaved a sigh of relief when they saw Lin Bai returning safely. They hurriedly went forward to welcome him. Senior Brother Lin, where have you been? It's already so late and you're not back yet. We all thought that something happened to you along the way, and we're prepared to look for you. Thank you for your concern. I went to the suburbs for a walk and picked some herbs along the way to prepare for pill refinement. Hearing this, everyone looked disapproving. Senior Brother Lin, you've just recovered. It's too tiring for you to pick herbs and refine pills. Why don't you take a good rest? It's not to do pill refinement later on. These people didn't know that Lin Bai's injuries had already healed, and he was on the verge of breaking through. However, it wasn't good for him to brush off everyone's good intentions, so he could only express his gratitude. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. In fact, refining pills can help my injuries recover, so there's no need to worry. Seeing that he was determined to do so, the crowd didn't say anything else. They only reminded him not to overwork himself. All right then, Senior Brother Lin, you just have to be careful. If there's anything you need our help with, don't be polite. When Lin Bai returned to refine the medicinal pills, the people from the City Lord estate also found him. Reporting to Lord Manager, the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf was bought by this person. His name is Lin Bai, and he was taken over by the Shao family from a small place to exchange and learn. There were also quite a number of people with him. They were all students of their local academies. Manager Zhao frowned. He came from a small place. How could he have so much money to buy the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf? Could it be that the Shao family gave it to him? The Shao family doesn't seem like a philanthropist. They're so generous. Could it be that this kid has something special about him? There's a reason why he came here. Moreover, I've asked Uncle Gene, and he said that this kid was using pills to trade with him. His subordinates told him everything that had happened, including the fact that the young master in embroidered clothes had paid a high price to buy the pills. In the end, the wolf was severely injured when it attacked Jean Daya. General Manager Zhao stroked the beard on his chin. No wonder. Moreover, after Lin Bai entered the capital, he somehow got into a conflict with the young master of the He family. After that, he offended the He family, and the people from the Alchemy Association took a liking to him and made an exception for him to enter the association. Later on, They heard that he committed a serious crime and was severely injured by the president. Then, he was expelled from the Alchemy Association. Initially, the people under him did not think much of Lin Bai. He was just an ordinary young man from an underdeveloped village. However, they did not expect that his experience would be so rich. It could be said that he had experienced ups and downs. A hint of interest appeared in General Manager Zhao's unfathomable eyes. It seems that this kid is still a little interesting. No matter what, we have to make a trip to the Xiao family. The people from the city lord's estate suddenly came to their door, causing the people from the Xiao family to be somewhat puzzled. Xiao Feng sat on the main seat and heard the servants report. Who is it? It's General Manager Zhao. Xiao Feng was even more puzzled when he heard this. General Manager Zhao was a popular person by the city lord's side, and his status was only slightly lower than the vice city lords. He did not easily walk around in front of others. Even he rarely saw him, so their relationship was not very close. Strange. Why did General Manager Zhao suddenly come here? After all, he was a favored person in front of the city lord. He was responsible for handling all kinds of affairs in the city lord estate and could not be easily offended. Therefore, Xiao Feng personally welcomed him. I don't know what kind of wind blew today to make General Manager Zhao come personally. However, what orders and instructions does the city lord have? General Manager Zhao smiled faintly. It's been a long time since we last met, Master Xiao. It seems that you're still as elegant as ever. I came here today to ask if there's a person called Lin Bai in the mansion. Lin Bai? Xiao Feng originally thought that General Manager Zhao was looking for them for something, but he did not expect Lin Bai to be suddenly mentioned. He paused for a moment and said, "There is such a person. Could it be that Lin Bai was coincidentally acquainted with General Manager Zhao, or that there was some kind of relationship between them?" The reason why the Alchemist Association made an exception to enter Lin Bai was also because of General Manager Zhao's relationship. For a moment, Xiao Feng's thoughts surged, but he did not show it on his face at all. He probed, "May I know why General Manager Zhao is looking for him?" "It's like this. I have something to ask him. I'll have to trouble Master Xiao to call him over first. Then, you shall know when the time comes." Seeing that General Manager Zhao had already said so, Xiao Feng naturally could not get to the bottom of it. He could only suppress the doubts in his heart and ask the servants to call Lin Bai out. Lin Bai thought that the people from the He family were looking for trouble again. After all, they had failed to assassinate him twice. He didn't expect that they would come overtly after they failed to do it in the dark. When he reached the hall, he found that it did not seem to be what he had thought. Xiao Feng saw that Lin Bai was standing where he was and did not respond. He quickly said, "This is General Manager Zhao from the City Lord's estate. Why did the people from the City Lord's estate look for him?" Lin Bai suddenly remembered that Chen Yan had once mentioned that they were going to the City Lord's estate. Could it be that there was some connection between them? General Manager Zhao did not beat around the bush. He went straight to the point and said, "I heard that you bought a Howling Moon Celestial Wolf from Jin Daya. I hope that you can part with it. We are willing to pay a high price to buy it." Xiao Feng and the others had heard of Jin Daya's reputation. Although his price was much cheaper than the auction and there was no need to charge a handling fee, based on the quality of the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf, the price was not something that an ordinary person could afford. However, Lin Bai actually had the crystals to buy it. How could they not be surprised? Lin Bai did not expect that the City Lord's estate would come knocking on his door for this matter. He shook his head and said, "Although I really want to agree to it, the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf is not with me." When the originally amiable General Manager Zhao heard this, his expression suddenly changed. "What do you mean by this?" General Manager Zhao thought that Lin Bai had come up with an excuse because he was unwilling, or that he was waiting for a better price. He couldn't help but feel that this person was a little greedy. "Young Master Lin, we're willing to pay double or even higher prices to buy it. It's not a loss for you. It's more than enough for you to buy another one with a similar cultivation level. Moreover, we heard from Boss Jean that the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf was seriously injured." He looked at Lin Bai meaningfully. "You don't have to worry about the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf being dead. We can still buy it, dead or alive." Since he had said that, Lin Bai should have agreed, but unfortunately, he still shook his head. "Manager's words really moved me. However, After I bought the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf and healed its injuries, I let it go. Now, its whereabouts are unknown. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. You actually released it? Manager Zhao sized up Lin Bai's expression as if he was considering whether what he said was true or not. Lin Bai's face was calm as he met his gaze. It did not seem like he was lying. The Howling Moon Celestial Wolf's price was definitely not cheap. Jindia was not a philanthropist, so Lin Bai must have spent a lot of money to buy it. Yet, he released it just like that. It was as if it was a joke. Even the Xiao family would not dare to do so. Young Master Lin is really a maverick. General Manager Zhao sneered. This was because they had wasted their efforts. More importantly, if the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf escaped because of this, no one would be able to withstand the wrath of the City Lord. He no longer had a good expression. He said unhappily, "Where did you release it?" Lin Bai casually reported a location. General Manager Zhao did not think much about it and rushed over with his men. He felt that with Lin Bai's status, there was no need for him to offend the City Lord estate. It was even more impossible for him to lie. There was no need to oppose the City Lord for the sake of a beast, unless he had nothing better to do. However, General Manager Zhao had never thought that there was actually a person like Lin Bai in the world. The members of the Xiao family felt that it was a pity as they watched General Manager Zhao and his group walk away. There was clearly a great opportunity in front of them to curry favor with the City Lord estate and sell a favor to General Manager Zhao. However, Lin Bai actually did not grasp it. He had even offended the people from the City Lord's estate. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Xiao Feng opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something. However, Lin Bai did not wait for him to react. The few elders of the Xiao family saw all of this and smiled coldly. I think this kid doesn't know what's good for him. He owes our Xiao family a favor, but in the end, he didn't hold back at all. The head of the Xiao family hasn't even spoken yet, and he left just like that. Now he has offended the people from the City Lord's estate. It would be fine if Manager Zhao finds the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf. If he doesn't, won't he vent his anger on us? Regardless of whether Lin Bai was the murderer of Xiao Yuqin or not, the ability to draw hatred had already made quite a few people from the Xiao family dislike him. Xiao Feng said something meaningful. Let him go. Maybe we won't even need to do anything when the time comes. Someone will deal with him for us. General Manager Zhao and his group walked out of the Xiao family. The subordinate beside them could not help but ask, "General Manager, we're just leaving like this. What if that kid lied to us?" He wouldn't dare to do such a thing even if we lent him the courage of a leopard. Although that was what he said, General Manager Zhao felt that Lin Bai was an eyesore. If it weren't for him, everyone would not have gone through so much trouble. His men were also very displeased. This kid is really annoying. He actually let go of the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf out of the blue. If we delay things, the City Lord will blame us later. After a few futile attempts, everyone couldn't help but complain a little. However, they couldn't convict Lin Bai because of this. After all, it was just a small matter. Moreover, Lin Bai hadn't done anything wrong. Even if they were from the City Lord's estate, they couldn't abuse their private power. All right, let's split up into two groups. You guys follow me to find the whereabouts of the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf. The rest of you go back to the City Lord's estate immediately and tell those people from the Alchemist Association that they must make second-hand preparations to see if there's anything else that can replace it. There's no time to lose. Let's hurry up and set off. The Howling Moon Celestial Wolf is seriously injured. It definitely won't be able to run far. We still have a chance to catch it back? The person next to him seemed to have thought of something and said with a worried expression, "Manager Zhao, that kid said just now that he cured the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf's injuries. What if? The Howling Moon Celestial Wolf's injuries are so serious. How can it be cured in a short period of time? He's just saying it." Manager Zhao didn't think much of it and didn't take Lin Bai's words to heart. In his opinion, even if Lin Bai had extraordinary talent and was favored by the Alchemist Association, it was impossible for him to immediately refine some panacea and quickly heal the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf's injuries. However, when they rushed to the place that Lin Bai had mentioned, they didn't even see a single strand of wolf hair, let alone the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf. However, this forest was extremely large, and they couldn't explore it completely in a short period of time. It seemed that if they wanted to speed up, they would have to send more people. Logically speaking, the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf should have found a hidden place to recuperate when it was injured. However, we have searched so many caves and valleys, yet we have not found any traces of it. Could it have already run away? General Manager Zhao pondered for a moment before speaking. Impossible. The Howling Moon Celestial Wolf is cautious by nature. If it has not recovered well, it would definitely not appear rashly. It must have recuperated first. Perhaps it would still be at a hidden spot, but we have not found it. But we've already searched every possible place, unless it's not here. But for now, they could only search the entire mountain, or see if the alchemists in the City Lord's estate could find a substitute. The City Lord estate. These ancient buildings were all extraordinary. Even the stone lion at the entrance was carved out of a 100-year-old piece of white jade. This kind of jade material was extremely rare, much less one that was this large. It could nourish spiritual energy and prolong one's life. Even the decorations at the entrance were like this, much less the inside. It was not an exaggeration to say that even a brick of the City Lord estate was priceless. Of course, this was only a joke from the people outside. In fact, it was not far from the truth. From the outside, the City Lord estate did not seem to occupy a large area. However, there was a different world inside. It was difficult for ordinary people to get a glimpse of the scene inside. The security here was tight. There were sentry posts every few steps. The closer it was to the City Lord's room, the tighter the security was. There were also patrols moving back and forth. It was as if they had completely surrounded this place. Not even a fly could fly in, much less people. However, the strange thing was that the City Lord was not in the room. Moreover, looking at the furnishings and equipment in the room, it seemed that no one had used it for a long time. In another spacious hall, there were all kinds of pill cauldrons. There were many people busying themselves. At a glance, they were all people from the Alchemy Association. As far as the eye could see, they were all 6th or 7th rank alchemists. There were even a few 8th rank alchemists. 5th rank alchemists could only be considered as handymen inside. They were like apprentices. Chen Yin was also inside. These alchemists were all secretly ordered by the City Lord estate to gather here to refine pills. At this moment, Chen Yin didn't know what he was thinking. He seemed to be a little absent-minded. From the moment you entered the City Lord's estate, I noticed that something was wrong with you. What exactly happened? A voice suddenly interrupted Chen Yan's thoughts. He raised his head and saw that it was his master, Yin Hua. He was also one of the 8th rank alchemists. He had an extremely high seniority in the Alchemist Association and could be considered an elder-level figure. It was precisely because of this that Chen Yin knew many secrets that other disciples did not know. It was a pity that knowing too much did not mean that it was a good thing. It also meant that he had to bear a lot of burdens. All these things were like a huge mountain pressing down on him. He could not catch his breath. Ever since he knew the reason for entering the City Lord's estate, Chen Yin could not sleep at night. This mind state also affected his cultivation, causing him to be stuck at a bottleneck for a long time. There were even signs that his cultivation was beginning to fall. Seeing this, Yin Hua had no choice but to temporarily delay Chen Yan's entry into the City Lord estate for the sake of Chen Yan's future. Chen Yin needed to adjust himself first. Chen Yin sighed. What else could it be? It was naturally Lin Bai's matter. I originally met a very talented young man who was very suitable to become Master's disciple. Since Master was in the City Lord's estate, I temporarily took him in as my disciple. He is only around 20 years old and is able to refine a grade 7 medicinal pill. It should be of great benefit to us. It's just a pity. He did not continue with the rest of his words. He had already roughly explained it in his previous talks with Yin Hua. If it was not for that accident, the person who should have been standing here should have been Lin Bai. Logically speaking, I feel that he is more qualified than me for this current position. I originally wanted to send him to the City Lord estate to help Master, but I did not expect such a thing to happen. Initially, Yin Hua didn't have much interest, but when he heard Chen Yan's words, his interest was immediately piqued. You rarely praise a person like this. To be able to receive such an evaluation from you, it must mean that his talent is extraordinary. AI. Chun Yin sighed. After all, he was able to refine a grade 7 medicinal pill, which shows his talent. It's just that Zhong Haoran, this villain, set up a vicious trap and let him break into the forbidden area. In the end, he was seriously injured and driven out. As the person was brought here by Chen Yin, even though he had Yin Hua's support, he was also implicated. Zhong Haoran also took the opportunity to punish him for not disciplining Lin Bai properly. Although the punishment was not serious, no one was allowed to come into contact with him. Therefore, he was unable to contact Lin Bai in time. He did not know how Lin Bai's situation was. It was not easy for him to come out from the cliff, but he received a message from Yin Hua, asking him to come to the city lord's estate. Therefore, he could only put Lin Bai's matter aside. Thinking of this, Chun Yin seemed to have thought of something and couldn't help but ask, "Master, why is there a sudden emergency summon? Moreover, I saw that there are many 4th-rank alchemists here recently." Yin Hua sighed and looked around. There were people coming and going here, and it wasn't a good place to talk. Thus, he brought Chun Yin to the side. "This matter is a secret, and I shouldn't tell you. However, as my disciple, you will know sooner or later that the city lord's condition isn't good now. There are even a few alchemists who were accidentally injured. We are just being prepared in case there is no one to use." Chen Yan's heart couldn't help but to contemplate when he heard this. He couldn't help but open his mouth and say, "Master, you guys are 8th-grade alchemists. Don't tell me that even you guys can't do anything about it?" Yin Hua revealed a bitter smile. "So what if I'm an 8th-grade alchemist? In the face of such a situation, you are still helpless and have no way to eradicate the problem for the city lord. What we can do now is to curb its development. However, the city lord's situation is getting more and more serious. It's gradually spreading. If this continues, I'm afraid that even we won't be able to control it. No wonder Master has been at a loss these past few days. You have been troubled by this matter." The matter was far more serious than Chen Yin had imagined. Although the conversation between the master and disciple was confusing, it was not difficult to tell from the few words that the city lord's body had a major problem. However, what exactly was the problem that could actually cause the Alchemist Association to mobilize all of their forces? It could be said that more than half of the elders, as well as the elites, were here. Moreover, it was so strictly kept a secret. It was enough to show that this matter was no trifling matter. Chun Yin asked worriedly, "How is the city lord's situation now?" Yin Hua did not tell him, but he could tell from the expression on Yin Hua's face that it was not good, so he did not ask much. "These days, we have been reading all kinds of ancient books and finally found a pill that can suppress the city lord's current situation. However, these medicinal ingredients are extremely tricky and strange, so it is not easy to find them. These few days, we have sent people out one after another and have only collected more than half of them. We hope that we can refine it as soon as possible." Even though they had found a pill that could suppress it, Yin Hua did not relax at all. This was because no one knew when the city lord's condition would worsen. "All right, quickly go back and refine pills. Right now, we can only rely on numbers to suppress it." General Manager Zhao's people also quickly came to the palace hall to report the news. They met Chen Yin and Yin Hua head-on. "Elder Yin, it's good that you're here." General Manager Zhao said that he couldn't find the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf right now. He wants you to make preparations and see if you can replace it with the inner core's other demonic beasts or medicinal herbs. The creases between Yin Hua's brows were so deep that they could almost pinch a mosquito to death. The inner core of the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf is a rather important ingredient for the pill. How can it be changed so easily? Moreover, it will affect the entire. If the medicinal properties change slightly, it is very likely that the medicinal pills will not succeed in the end. Even if it succeeds, the medicinal properties might also change and it won't be able to suppress it. General Manager Zhao's men immediately revealed a troubled expression. "I'm just a messenger." General Manager Zhao is still bringing people to look for the inner core outside. "He just wants me to inform you." Yin Hua was just about to speak when someone ran in with a flustered expression. "No, this is bad. Elder Yin, Elder Sun, Elderly, the Vice City Lord wants you all to make a trip over." To be able to make him reveal such an expression and even gather all the 8th-grade alchemists, Could it be that something had happened to the city lord? Yin Hua's heart sank, and he hurriedly rushed over. There were 2 other elders accompanying him. The 3 of them came to the back courtyard of the city lord's estate and discovered that this place was covered by a huge array. On the ground, there were a few symbols engraved with metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. They were based on the 5 elements, and there were also a few other arrays stacked on. Usually, aristocratic families would set up formations in their mansions, either to gather spiritual energy or to defend themselves. Moreover, this was the city lord's estate. It was not unusual for there to be many formations here. The main thing was that from the way these formations moved, it seemed like they were suppressing something. However, the aura here was extremely calm. No one could tell that there was anything unusual about it. There was a layer of faint water light floating in the air. Yin Hua and the other elders silently chanted incantations. At the same time, the jade tokens on their bodies were emitting a different light as they immersed themselves into the array formation. Soon after, they merged into one and their bodies gradually disappeared. It was as if they had been wiped away by a pair of invisible hands. While the world was spinning, Yin Hua and the other elders came to another narrow passageway that extended into the distance. The surroundings were filled with stone walls and a dim environment. It was as if they had come underground. Someone had actually dug a tunnel under the city lord's estate. Moreover, it seemed to be quite large. Who could actually have such a great ability? Moreover, digging a tunnel was not something that could be done in a day. Moreover, it was done under the city lord's eyes. This was unless the city lord had instructed for this. The 3 of them walked for some distance before the front finally became clear. The person standing there was none other than the vice city lord, Ren Ziyuan. With an anxious expression, he said, "Elders, you have finally come over. Is there something wrong with the city lord's body?" Ren Ziyuan nodded. Just now, that thing suddenly erupted and the city lord almost couldn't suppress it. I see that the city lord's condition isn't good. If this continues, I'm afraid that his life will be in danger. Yin Hua and the others' faces immediately darkened, but based on the previous situation, the city lord can clearly hold on for a few more days. As long as we wait for the pill to be refined, we can temporarily suppress it. But now, why is it? Ren Ziyuan shook his head, indicating that he did not know what the situation was. I have been protecting the city lord from the side since the beginning. Who would have thought that the thing would suddenly attack, as if it had been stimulated by something? Looking at the situation, the city lord probably can't hold on for long. You must refine the pill as soon as possible. The few of them immediately revealed awkward expressions. After all, they had not gathered all the medicinal ingredients. They thought that there was still time, but now they were told that they had to refine the pill as soon as possible. But before they could finish speaking, Ren Ziyuan interrupted them. His expression was solemn as he said, "No buts. We have to refine the medicinal pill, no matter if it's for the city lord or for us." Looking at his expression, everyone's gaze also became somewhat gloomy and unclear. They looked towards the depths of the tunnel. Recently, it had been completely dark, as if some kind of ferocious beast had been imprisoned there. It made them feel a little flustered for no reason. They could faintly hear rustling sounds, not knowing what exactly was within. The ground was filled with mysterious symbols and patterns. They extended into the tunnel, faintly revealing the aura of a sealing formation. It was even more obvious than the one on the ground. It contained some kind of sealing power. Although they could not name it, they could tell that it was a large formation. Moreover, it had taken a lot of effort and work to complete. However, the patterns on these large formations now seemed to cover another layer of things, so the original patterns became blurry. Roar. A roar came from the depths of the cave. It didn't seem like a sound that humans could make. However, that place was clearly the city lord's position. The expressions of the few people changed, and they shouted in unison, "City Lord." Something has happened to the city lord. From the looks of it, the situation is probably extremely bad. Ren Ziyuan took a step forward to check the situation, but was stopped by Yin Hua, Vice City Lord. "You must not." Previously, the city lord had instructed us that if that thing was to erupt, we shouldn't approach it so easily. Previously, There were so many casualties that it almost caused chaos. That roar became clearer and clearer. Upon listening carefully, it was mixed with the sounds of humans struggling in pain. Ren Ziyuan gritted his teeth and said, "We can't care so much. If this continues, I'm afraid that thing will torture the City Lord to death. What if the City Lord can't endure it?" After saying that, he walked forward. Yin Hua and the others looked at each other. They also hurriedly chased after him. The closer they got, the patterns of the array on the ground became more and more blurry. The originally white divine light became dimmer, as if there was a layer of other material on top covered the original divine power. It looked extremely dirty. Ren Ziyuan said worriedly, "The newly set up array has already become like this. Originally, the array was strengthened every few years. Now, it has become every year, or even every month. I'm afraid that based on the current situation, the time will be shorter and shorter. Now, they would come to inspect the situation every few days to strengthen the array. However, even so, this thing was becoming more and more violent and could not be suppressed at all. It was likely that sooner or later, even the array would not be effective. Regardless of the array or whatever, it will only treat the symptoms but not the root of the problem. However, we don't have time to think about it now. The key is to rescue the City Lord first." Just as they were talking, a cold aura spread out that seemed to have climbed up from the 9 hells. It was bone-piercing cold, as if even their blood was about to be frozen into ice. "Everyone, be careful. It's the evil aura." Ren Ziyuan, Yin Hua, and the others circulated the divine power around their bodies. The light of different colors surrounded their bodies, wrapping them inside to prevent the baleful aura from disturbing them. However, the evil aura was attached to the outside of the protective divine light. The originally dazzling light became much dimmer, and Ren Ziyuan and the others continued to move forward. However, the deeper they went, the stronger the evil aura became. When they walked in, their protective divine light became only a thin layer. It was as if it was in danger of shattering at any time. At this moment, in the depths of the cave, there was a mass of objects rolling crazily. They could vaguely see a humanoid creature. Ren Ziyuan and Yin Hua were immediately shocked. "City Lord, are you okay?" That person suddenly raised his head. His scarlet pupils flashed and disappeared. It was as if there was some kind of bloodthirsty light from a wild beast. There were no human emotions. There was only killing and bloodlust. It made people feel a chill from the bottom of their hearts. "City Lord," Ren Ziyuan could not help but walk forward. However, the City Lord seemed to have been provoked. He bared his teeth and his actions were like that of a wild beast. The murderous aura around his body was even more turbulent. With a shio sound, he actually attacked head-on. If Ren Ziyuan hadn't dodged quickly, he might have been struck. Thinking of the consequences of being hurt by the murderous aura, even someone with a high cultivation level felt some lingering fear. Yin Hua reminded him from the side, "I'm afraid that the City Lord has already lost his mind. You have to be careful." Ren Ziyuan nodded. Spirit energy spread out from his fingertips and sealed a few of the City Lord's major acupoints. The area nearby was also the place with the most evil aura. Pure white spirit energy washed away the evil aura. However, the evil aura kept coming out, as if it could not be expelled no matter how hard he tried. Beads of sweat gradually appeared on Ren Ziyuan's forehead, and his face became a little pale. "Elders, I need your help." Yin Hua and the others nodded. Spiritual power was poured out from their fingertips, enveloping the City Lord's entire body. The pure light seemed to be able to wash away everything. The evil aura actually became fainter, as if it had met some kind of natural enemy. It faded away from the City Lord's body. However, after a while, the evil aura was finally expelled. More accurately speaking, it returned to the City Lord's body. The scarlet red in his eyes also gradually receded, returning to normal. After seeing the figures of Ren Ziyuan, Yin Hua, and the others clearly, the City Lord seemed to have regained his consciousness. He said weakly, "What happened just now?" Just now, the evil aura suddenly erupted. "City Lord, you almost couldn't suppress it." The City Lord revealed a worried expression. Now, The evil aura is erupting more and more frequently. Moreover, every time after that, I don't remember what happened before. I'm afraid that if this continues, I'll be forever controlled by the evil aura and won't be able to wake up again. When that time comes, he didn't finish his sentence, but who knew that the situation in front of him wasn't too good? City Lord, don't worry. We're not at the end yet. There must be a way. Facing Ren Ziyuan's comforting words, the City Lord shook his head. I know my own body very well. You don't need to comfort me. Yanhua couldn't help but say, City Lord, give us a little more time. As long as we can refine the pill, we'll be able to clear the murderous aura in your body. The City Lord revealed a bitter smile. I'm afraid we don't have much time left. You guys can leave. I want to rest alone. Ren Ziyuan and Yanhua had no choice but to leave. When they arrived on the ground, their expressions were not very good. You guys have also seen the CCEY Lord situation just now. The pill must be refined immediately. At this time, General Manager Zhao had also brought people back. No matter how they searched the entire mountain, they could not find any sign of the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf, so they could only come back to report. Hearing the news that they had brought back, Yanhua and the others were even more at a loss. There is nothing that can replace the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf's inner core. We must hurry. General Manager Zhao could not help but ask, then I will send people to other towns to ask if there are still Howling Moon Celestial Wolves. Yanhua shook his head. The time wasted on the road is too long. I'm afraid the City Lord won't be able to hold on for that long. Something has happened to the City Lord. From the looks of it, the situation is probably extremely bad. Ren Ziyuan took a step forward to check the situation, but was stopped by Yanhua, Vice City Lord. You must not. Previously, the City Lord had instructed us that if that thing was to erupt, we shouldn't approach it so easily. Previously, there were so many casualties that it almost caused chaos. That roar became clearer and clearer. Upon listening carefully, it was mixed with the sounds of humans struggling in pain. Ren Ziyuan gritted his teeth and said, We can't care so much. If this continues, I'm afraid that that thing will torture the City Lord to death. What if the City Lord can't endure it? After saying that, he walked forward. Yanhua and the others looked at each other. They also hurriedly chased after him. The closer they got, the patterns of the array on the ground became more and more blurry. The originally white divine light became dimmer, as if there was a layer of other material on top covered the original divine power. It looked extremely dirty. Ren Ziyuan said worriedly, the newly set up array has already become like this. Originally, the array was strengthened every few years. Now, it has become every year, or even every month. I'm afraid that based on the current situation, the time will be shorter and shorter. Now, they would come to inspect the situation every few days to strengthen the array. However, even so, this thing was becoming more and more violent and could not be suppressed at all. It was likely that sooner or later, even the array would not be effective. Regardless of the array or whatever, it will only treat the symptoms but not the root of the problem. However, we don't have time to think about it now. The key is to rescue the City Lord first. Just as they were talking, a cold aura spread out that seemed to have climbed up from the 9 hells. It was bone-piercing cold, as if even their blood was about to be frozen into ice. Everyone, be careful. It's the evil aura. Ren Ziyuan, Yanhua, and the others circulated the divine power around their bodies. The light of different colors surrounded their bodies, wrapping them inside to prevent the baleful aura from disturbing them. However, the evil aura was attached to the outside of the protective divine light. The originally dazzling light became much dimmer, and Ren Ziyuan and the others continued to move forward. However, the deeper they went, the stronger the evil aura became. When they walked in, their protective divine light became only a thin layer. It was as if it was in danger of shattering at any time. At this moment, in the depths of the cave, there was a mass of objects rolling crazily. They could vaguely see a humanoid creature. Ren Ziyuan and Yanhua were immediately shocked. City Lord, are you okay? That person suddenly raised his head. His scarlet pupils flashed and disappeared. It was as if there was some kind of bloodthirsty light from a wild beast. There were no human emotions. There was only killing and bloodlust. It made people feel a chill from the bottom of their hearts. City Lord Ren Ziyuan could not help but walk forward. However, the City Lord seemed to have been provoked. He bared his teeth, and his actions were like that of a wild beast. The murderous aura around his body was even more turbulent. With a shio sound, he actually attacked head-on. If Ren Ziyuan hadn't dodged quickly, he might have been struck. Thinking of the consequences of being hurt by the murderous aura, even someone with a high cultivation level felt some lingering fear. Yanhua reminded him from the side, "I'm afraid that the City Lord has already lost his mind. You have to be careful." Ren Ziyuan nodded. Spirit energy spread out from his fingertips and sealed a few of the City Lord's major acupoints. The area nearby was also the place with the most evil aura. Pure white spirit energy washed away the evil aura. However, the evil aura kept coming out, as if it could not be expelled no matter how hard he tried. Beads of sweat gradually appeared on Ren Ziyuan's forehead, and his face became a little pale. "Elders, I need your help." Yanhua and the others nodded. Spiritual power was poured out from their fingertips, enveloping the City Lord's entire body. The pure light seemed to be able to wash away everything. The evil aura actually became fainter, as if it had met some kind of natural enemy. It faded away from the City Lord's body. However, after a while, the evil aura was finally expelled. More accurately speaking, it returned to the City Lord's body. The scarlet red in his eyes also gradually receded, returning to normal. After seeing the figures of Ren Ziyuan, Yanhua, and the others clearly, the City Lord seemed to have regained his consciousness. He said weakly, "What happened just now?" Just now, the evil aura suddenly erupted. "City Lord, you almost couldn't suppress it." The City Lord revealed a worried expression. "Now, the evil aura is erupting more and more frequently. Moreover, every time after that, I don't remember what happened before. I'm afraid that if this continues, I'll be forever controlled by the evil aura and won't be able to wake up again. When that time comes..." He didn't finish his sentence, but who knew that the situation in front of him wasn't too good. "City Lord, don't worry. We're not at the end yet. There must be a way." Facing Ren Ziyuan's comforting words, the City Lord shook his head. "I know my own body very well. You don't need to comfort me." Yanhua couldn't help but say, "City Lord, give us a little more time. As long as we can refine the pill, we'll be able to clear the murderous aura in your body." The City Lord revealed a bitter smile. "I'm afraid we don't have much time left. You guys can leave. I want to rest alone." Ren Ziyuan and Yanhua had no choice but to leave. When they arrived on the ground, their expressions were not very good. "You guys have also seen the CCEY Lord situation just now. The pill must be refined immediately." At this time, General Manager Zhao had also brought people back. No matter how they searched the entire mountain, they could not find any sign of the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf, so they could only come back to report. Hearing the news that they had brought back, Yanhua and the others were even more at a loss. There is nothing that can replace the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf's inner core. "We must hurry." General Manager Zhao could not help but ask, "Then I will send people to other towns to ask if there are still Howling Moon Celestial Wolves." Yanhua shook his head. "The time wasted on the road is too long. I'm afraid the City Lord won't be able to hold on for that long." Everyone's expressions turned ugly. They had finally received the news that the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf had appeared, but when they rushed over, they were told that it had already been bought. By the time they found the buyer, the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf had already been set free. It was as if the heavens were playing a joke on them. The Howling Moon Celestial Wolf is rare to begin with. Whether we can find it anywhere else is a problem. Moreover, this round trip will take up too much time. I'm afraid the City Lord won't be able to hold on until then. General Manager Zhao couldn't help but ask, "Isn't there anything else that can replace it?" The few alchemists shook their heads. "If there was anything that can replace it, we would have taken action long ago. There's no need to wait until now. The Howling Moon Celestial Wolf's inner core has a special effect. It can cleanse the evil aura. Other things can't do this. Even if it can, the effect will be greatly reduced. It won't achieve the effect that we hoped for." It was not easy for the wolf to appear in their territory, but they could not find it. It was simply a trick of fate. General Manager Zhao felt extremely unlucky. It's all that brat Lin Bai's fault. He let the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf go for no reason. Otherwise, the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf would have fallen into our hands a long time ago. Could it be that this brat did not want to tell us the whereabouts of the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf and gave us a fake address on purpose? Otherwise, we wouldn't have not been able to find it. The more Manager Zhao thought about it, the more he felt it was so. After all, they had searched the entire mountain, yet they couldn't find even a single strand of wolf hair. Yanhua felt that this name was somewhat familiar. Who are you talking about? Chun Yan's eyes lit up. Master, it's that rather talented disciple that I mentioned to you before. Hearing Manager Zhao and the others' discussion, he quickly said, there might be some misunderstanding. Even if Lin Bai had 100 guts, he wouldn't dare to go against the city lord. Moreover, he is extremely talented. Perhaps he will be of some help to us. Why don't you let me go and take a look? General Manager Zhao's gaze fell on Yanhua. After all, Chun Yan was his disciple. Moreover, Yanhua had some say in the city lord's estate. It could be seen that everyone respected him. Yanhua could see that Chun Yan greatly admired Lin Bai. It was rare to see him have such a high evaluation of a person. Naturally, he wouldn't disregard his disciple's face. Then let's do as he said. Moreover, we don't have enough manpower. Previously, the evil aura had injured many alchemists. Now, the city lord is in imminent danger. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, we cannot give up. With Yanhua's words, Chun Yan was naturally overjoyed. However, it might not be easy to explain to He Qingyu inside afterwards. He hesitated and said, but the president has already expelled Lin Bai. He has nothing to do with our alchemist association anymore. That's fine. We can use the name of the city lord's estate to invite him here and ask him for help. Of course, it has nothing to do with the Alchemist Association. On the other side, Xiaofeng and the others received the news from the spies of the Alchemist Association. What did you say? Someone once saw Lin Bai using a wooden sword? Are you sure he didn't see wrongly? Xiaofeng's eyes were fierce as he stood up excitedly from the chair mountain. The person who came to report was shocked. Yes. Then why didn't you tell me earlier? Xiaofeng tightened his grip on the teacup in his hand. When he let go of it again, white powder drifted away with the wind from his palm. It was as if he had thought of it as someone else. The person who came trembled in fear as he felt a great pressure coming from above his head. It was like a huge mountain that had come from ancient times. It was so heavy that he almost could not breathe. He quickly said, I didn't know about it before. I only came back to report it because I accidentally heard someone mention it. It turned out that Lin Bai had accidentally entered the forbidden area when he was trying to save Fu Li. He had to use the Ruoshui sword to fight with the creatures in the forbidden area. At that time, he had no consciousness at all. After he came out, he quickly put the Ruoshui sword back into his body. However, he was also noticed by a few people. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. No one took it to heart at that time. It was a pity that the news still reached to Xiaofeng after going around in circles. After I learned of this news, I immediately came to report to the head of the family and asked that person to draw a picture based on his memory. Xiaofeng hurriedly opened the picture that he had handed over. The Ruoshui sword appeared in his eyes, as if it overlapped with the picture of Xiao Yuchen's death that he had seen. He would be able to recognize it, even if it turned into ashes. There's absolutely no mistake. It's this sword. Lin Bai is the murderer who killed my son. The third elder was the happiest among them. He had always disliked Lin Bai. Now that he knew that he was the murderer, he could not wait to rush over with his men. I told you that this kid was suspicious. I didn't expect him to be so cunning. He hid himself so deeply that he almost escaped. This time, I definitely won't let him escape easily. Family head, you must punish him properly to console Yuchen's spirit in heaven. Xiaofeng's expression gradually turned dark. Don't worry, I will definitely not let this kid go. I will make him pay 100 times the price. After he finished speaking, he gathered his men and headed toward the courtyard where Lin Bai was. Looking at the fierce expressions of the Xiao family and the others, he and the others still did not know what had happened. Liao Fanyu was just one of the disciples, and was about to go up and ask, "Master Xiao, I wonder if you—" The furious Xiao Feng hated them so much that he could not care less. He raised his hand and threw a wind blade at him. Before Liao Fan could finish his words, he was instantly sent flying several meters away. He suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The other disciples saw this and quickly surrounded him. They saw that there was still broken flesh in the blood foam that he spat out. It was clear that Xiao Feng's attack was very heavy. He was immediately furious. "Master Xiao, why did you suddenly attack and hurt someone?" Xiao Feng could not be bothered to waste his breath on them. "Where is Lin Bai? Tell him to get his ass out here and see me. He killed my son. Does he think that he can avoid this matter? The law of heaven is always in place. I'm going to make him pay with his life." Everyone looked at each other. The more they listened, the more confused they became. Why would Xiao Feng suddenly say that Lin Bai killed his son? Previously, in order to avoid alerting the enemy, Xiao Feng only announced to the public that Xiao Yuchen had gone out to travel and that his return date was uncertain. Therefore, other than a few elders and higher-ups, no one else knew that Xiao Yuchen had died. At this moment, when they heard good Xiao Feng say this, everyone was confused. Could there be some misunderstanding? Senior brother Lin has always lived in seclusion and rarely went out. He has never met your young master before. After that, he went to the Alchemist Association. No matter how you look at it, it's impossible. The others also chimed in. They looked at Xiao Feng and the others with eyes filled with confusion and anger. Master Xiao hurt people without even asking for the truth. He's simply going too far. Even if we came from a small place, you can't look down on us to such an extent. The Xiao family's disciples immediately ridiculed them when they heard this. At least you know your place. You know that you came from a remote village. If it weren't for the kindness of our Xiao family that allowed you to come to the capital city, I'm afraid that you would only be able to live in a ravine for the rest of your lives. These words were a little overboard. Their words were filled with disdain and contempt for them. Even clay figurines had some temper, let alone them. The Xiao family has shown mercy and is so kind to you. If you have any conscience and gratitude, quickly hand over the murderer. We'll use Lin Bai's blood to comfort our third young master's soul in heaven. Many people who had received Lin Bai's favor spoke up for Lin Bai. The atmosphere between the two sides could be said to be at daggers drawn, and the air was filled with a strong smell of gunpowder. You're all slandering us. Without any evidence, you're saying that our senior brother Lin is the murderer. You attacked us right from the start and hurt innocent people. To think that you're actually such a well-educated and influential family in the capital city. You're so arrogant and despotic. You're unable to differentiate between right and wrong. The disciple was so angry that he shouted indignantly. He did not notice that the faces of the Xiao family members were getting darker and darker. As soon as he said that, a cold light flashed in the air like a shooting star. It rushed toward the disciple at lightning speed. No one saw clearly how Xiao Feng attacked. Ah! A sharp sword wind blew in the air. A miserable cry was heard. A huge bloody hole suddenly appeared on the shoulder of the disciple. The long sword that was flashing with a cold light pierced through his shoulder blade. It was a chilling sight to behold. Xiao Feng's expression was dark as he stared at the disciple who had just opened his mouth to speak. Blood was still dripping from the tip of the sword, and a bright red stream was dripping on the ground. You're simply too noisy. No one had expected Xiao Feng to be so fierce and attack without warning. He did not leave any room for others to fight. For a moment, those disciples were silent like cicadas in winter. They were like frightened quails that were shivering and did not dare to speak. On the contrary, the Xiao family's disciples were gloating. Continue talking. Weren't you very arrogant and eloquent before? Why are you not continuing now? The disciple was seriously injured. Everyone hurriedly stopped the bleeding and transferred their spiritual power to him. For a moment, they did not have the time to refute. More importantly, they could not beat Xiao Feng. I'll say it for the last time. Tell Lin Bai to get out. Invisible energy spread rapidly in all directions with Xiao Feng as the center. It was like a huge wave on the ocean that was about to drown everyone. The pressure from the Grandmaster level was not something that everyone could resist. They felt that all the bones in their bodies were crushed. They did not even have the strength to look at Xiao Feng, let alone resist. One of the disciples with a higher cultivation level could barely resist. He stood up and rushed over with an angry roar. "You're going too far." Xiao Feng did not even need to make a move. The disciple beside him revealed a contemptuous expression and looked at him as if he was looking at an ant. "You're overestimating yourself." The moment he finished speaking, his long sword flew across the sky and was about to land on the disciple's body. However, the bloody scene that he imagined did not appear. The Xiao family disciple seemed to have been blocked by something. There were two invisible hands in the air in front of him, and he could not advance any further. Large beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. He suddenly exerted force downward, but he was instead shaken by the force and fell back far away. The disciple looked at his hands in disbelief. He did not know what had happened. He had actually become so powerful, but a deep male voice came from behind him. "There's no need for Master Xiao to make such a big fuss. Just look for me directly. There's no need to hurt the innocent here." It turned out that it was Lin Bai who had attacked just now. The disciple immediately revealed a grateful expression. If it were not for Lin Bai, he would have been beheaded by now. Xiao Feng's expression was ice-cold when he saw Lin Bai's arrival. "You're finally out. I thought you'd be a coward and not dare to come out." However, Lin Bai was calm and composed. "Have I done anything wrong? Why wouldn't I dare to come out?" Xiao Feng became even angrier when he heard that. "You still have the nerve to say that. You killed my son, yet you still want to pretend that nothing happened. Do you really think that my Xiao family is that easy to deceive?" Lin Bai revealed a puzzled expression. "Master Xiao, I don't quite understand what you're saying. Who's your son?" Xiao Feng gritted his teeth and said, "Xiao Yuqin. Back then, he went on a trip to the Mystic Essence Mystic Realm and met with a tragic end. I've been searching for the murderer all this while." When Lin Bai heard the words Mystic Essence Mystic Realm, a figure appeared in his mind. He vaguely remembered that he had met a young master in embroidered clothes in the Mystic Yuan Mystic Realm. However, that group of people had provoked him first. From the looks of it, he had an extraordinary background. However, that young master had already fallen in his hands before he could report his family. Now that he thought about it, it was probably Xiao Yuqin. He had long suspected it since the beginning. After all, there was only a group of people at that time. Later on, when they came to the capital city, he were also reminded by Bai He. When he heard that the Xiao family wanted to inspect their sword, he was cautious. He did not use the Ruoxue sword. Instead, he replaced it with another sword. Thus, no one noticed anything amiss. It was just that he accidentally used the Ruoxue sword in the forbidden area later on. At that time, he had completely lost his consciousness. Even if he regained his consciousness later on, it was likely that a small portion of people would have seen it. The Xiao family's strength in the capital city was not bad. It was inevitable that they would also know about it. Lin Bai secretly felt he was a bit careless, but his expression did not change. "I don't know Xiao Yuqin. I'm afraid that the Xiao family head has mistaken me for someone else." Xiao Yuqin deserved to die. If time had reversed, Lin Bai would not have been merciful either. Cultivation was originally cruel. Moreover, Xiao Yuqin wanted to kill him and steal the treasure first, but his power were not as strong as Lin Bai's. Seeing that Lin Bai did not admit it, Xiao Feng smiled coldly. "You still don't know, right? Our Xiao family has a secret technique. If the core members of the Xiao family were in danger, Lu Ying would send the last images of them when they were alive back. This is the wooden sword that I saw at that time. It took my son's life. No matter how much you calculated, you definitely would not have thought of this." Lin Bai did not know that the Xiao family had such a secret technique. There was no panic on his face. "This is not my sword. Moreover, although there are very few people in the world who use wooden swords, there are still people who do. Why are you accusing me?" Xiao Feng saw that Lin Bai's expression was calm. If he did not have evidence, he would have been deceived by Lin Bai's face. No wonder Lin Bai could hide it so deeply. It was only now that he had discovered some clues. "You were seen using the wooden sword in the Alchemy Association. Do you still want to deny it now?" Third Elder said from the side, "Master, don't talk nonsense with this brat. He has many tricks up his sleeve. Who knows what evil intentions he has? Master Xiao, please think about it. If I'm really the murderer, why have I been staying in the Xiao family? Wouldn't I be walking into a trap? I should have run away earlier. Otherwise, wouldn't I be putting myself in danger? Lin Bai's words were not without reason. Third Elder saw that Xiao Feng was a little shaken. So he quickly said, "Family head, the truth is right in front of us. We can't not believe it." Lin Bai looked around. This was the Xiao family, so there might be an array formation here. Moreover, Xiao Feng had brought a few elders with strong spiritual power. If they were to fight later, he would have no chance of winning here. Most importantly, he could not implicate the innocent people. Even if he was confident that he could escape if he could not defeat them, Xiao Feng would definitely vent his anger on Bai He, Ren Ziyuan, and the others if they could not catch him. He had lived with this group of people for a long time, so he had some feelings for them. Moreover, Lin Bai was taken care of by them, so he could not do such an ungrateful thing. "Master Xiao, it's fine if you kill me, but if the real murderer finds a scapegoat because of this, he will get away with it and be fine. I believe that your young master's soul will not be able to rest in peace." Xiao Feng's brows were tightly knitted. He carefully observed Lin Bai's expression, as if he was thinking about the authenticity of his words. The third elder was furious. "Lin Bai, stop struggling on your deathbed. You're still trying to confuse us even now. You're the murderer. What innocence? What scapegoat? These are all excuses that you've found for yourself. Master, have you ever heard the saying that the most dangerous place is the safest place? Lin Bai is playing us like we're fools. I'd rather kill 1,000 people by mistake than let 100 of them go. Let's start with Lin Bai today." Xiao Feng did not hesitate any longer. He drew out a spiritual blade from his palm and flew toward Lin Bai. Seeing that he attacked without hesitation, Lin Bai knew that this matter would not end well today. It would be fine if he was alone, but how would the others handle themselves? Bai He and the others were also completely stunned on the spot. They did not expect that Xiao Feng would suddenly make a move while they were talking. Lin Bai simply did not want to make a big deal out of this matter. He just avoided Xiao Feng's attack. "Senior brother Bai, what do you think we should do?" Bai He had seen Lin Bai's Ruoshui sword before, and he had a deep memory of it. Ever since he came to the capital city, he had not seen Lin Bai use it. In addition to what Xiao Feng had said before, he could not help but feel a little suspicious. However, now was not the time to talk about this. If Lin Bai was really the murderer, Xiao Feng was probably eager to avenge his son. It was inevitable that he would vent his anger on them. He said decisively, "Lin Bai is definitely not the murderer." The others quickly chimed in, "That's right. How can senior brother Lin be the murderer?" Unfortunately, it did not matter what they said. What was important was what Xiao Feng thought. "Someone, tie Lin Bai up." Xiao Feng's expression was cold. "Lin Bai, I know that you're very strong, but think about it carefully. Can you beat so many of us?" After he finished speaking, his tone paused, and his gaze fell on Bai He and the others. "Even if you can defeat them, what can your fellow disciples do?" As expected, he wanted to use Bai He and the others to threaten him. Lin Bai's expression changed slightly. Things began to develop in the worst way, just as Bai He had expected. "Lin Bai, I advise you to surrender. For the sake of not suffering physical pain, and also for the sake of your fellow disciples." It was as if Xiao Feng was playing a game of cat and mouse. He did not personally deal with Lin Bai. However, he was prouder of killing his heart than directly attacking him. For a moment, the atmosphere became solemn. However, at this moment, a servant sent news that another person had come from the city lord's estate. Damn it! Why are there people from the city lord's estate at this time? Xiao Feng recalled how General Manager Zhao had come over to buy the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf from Lin Bai. Although he had left after learning that the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf was not in Lin Bai's hands, he had a bad feeling in his heart for some reason. Could it be that Lin Bai was up to something again? He instructed in a low voice, "Keep an eye on them. If anyone escapes, you'll be held accountable." After saying this, he hurriedly ran to the front hall. This time, there was another middle-aged man besides Manager Zhao. Judging from his attire, he should be from the Alchemist Association. The uneasiness in his heart grew stronger and stronger. "General Manager Zhao, why did you have to make another trip? Have you found the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf?" General Manager Zhao shook his head. No, this time. I came here hoping that Lin Bai could make a trip to the city lord's estate. Xiao Feng's smile instantly froze on his face. Why do you suddenly want Lin Bai to go to the city lord's estate? General Manager Zhao did not want to talk to him anymore. He could only vaguely say, in short, we have an urgent matter to look for Lin Bai. It's not convenient for us to tell you at the moment. I hope that Master Xiao can understand. Xiao Feng's expression gradually faded. To tell you the truth, Lin Bai is suspected of killing my youngest son. I'm about to arrest him and bring him to justice. It's really not convenient to hand him over. General Manager Zhao, see if you can make an exception. General Manager Zhao immediately revealed a troubled expression. The Xiao family's position in the capital city was not low. Moreover, Xiao Feng had already said this. It would not be good for him to make Xiao Feng lose face. If this were anything else, it would be fine. However, everyone knew that Xiao Feng was extremely fond of his youngest son. If Lin Bai was involved in this matter, the Xiao family would not easily let him go even if he spoke up. Moreover, it would be too difficult for them to do so. As expected, Manager Zhao said in a low voice, Alchemist Chen, you heard what Master Xiao said. I think we should forget about it. After all, Lin Bai is his enemy who killed his son. We don't need him. Why don't we look at the other alchemists? Chun Yan's heart skipped a beat. He knew that this matter was going to fail when he heard General Manager Zhao. However, regardless of whether it was for himself or his master, he had to protect Lin Bai no matter what. He hurriedly pulled General Manager Zhao to the side and said in a low voice, General Manager Zhao, this Lin Bai is not someone that ordinary alchemists can compare to. His talent is outstanding. He can even be described as a monster. After all, Lin Bai was able to refine a grade 7 medicinal pill when he did not know anything back then. Later on, when he fought with Zhong Haoren and the others, he won so brilliantly. It was simply unprecedented. Chen Yin had a faint premonition that Lin Bai's arrival might become a great help to him and his master. General Manager Zhao was a little helpless. But we can't persuade the Xiao family's side. Now that the City Lord is at a critical juncture, the Vice City Lord has already spoken. We must refine the pill as soon as possible. We must not let go of any possibility or opportunity. I know Lin Bai's ability. It will be of great help to us. I believe General Manager Zhao will prioritize the City Lord above all else. These words entered General Manager Zhao's heart. Seeing that he was a little shaken, Chen Yin quickly struck while the iron was hot. General Manager Zhao, you're loyal to the City Lord. You absolutely won't let him fall into danger. Moreover, if the Vice City Lord were here today, he would definitely choose to bring Lin Bai back. As expected, General Manager Zhao seemed to have made up his mind. Master Xiao, I can understand the pain of losing your son. Do you have any conclusive evidence in your hands that proves that Lin Bai is the murderer of your son? Xiao Feng hesitated for a moment and said, someone once saw Lin Bai using a wooden sword in the Alchemy Association, and the one who killed my son was also a wooden sword. Chen Yin could not help but say, a wooden sword alone doesn't prove anything. There are so many people who use swords in the world, so it's not unusual for them to use wooden swords. Master Xiao, please bring Lin Bai here first so that we don't accuse the good people. Seeing Manager Zhao's insistence, Xiao Feng had no choice but to ask someone to bring Lin Bai up. When Chen Yin saw that Lin Bai was safe and sound, he could not help but heave a sigh of relief. He was also quite surprised in his heart. It must be known that he had clearly seen how serious Lin Bai's injury was before. In the end, it had only been a short while, but he was already lively and well. He was even involved in the matter of killing Xiao Feng's son. Lin Bai did not seem to have expected to see Chen Yin here. Their gazes met in midair, but Xiao Feng's expression became even more unsightly. He knew that Lin Bai and Chen Yin were old acquaintances. It was Chen Yin who had brought Lin Bai into the Alchemy Association back then. Now that Chen Yin had appeared here, he knew that nothing good would happen, so he could not help but ridicule him. Alchemist Chen, just because of your relationship with Lin Bai, you cannot bend the law for personal gain and try to get Lin Bai off. I must seek justice for my son. Only then can I comfort his soul in heaven. Chen Yin would not let him spill dirty water so easily. Master Xiao, I did not bend the law for personal gain. I am only upholding fairness and justice. Your evidence is indeed insufficient to prove that Lin Bai is the murderer. If you were to rashly convict him just like that, you would be suspected of falsely accusing a good person. Chun Yan's gaze fell on Lin Bai. He said solemnly, Lin Bai, tell me everything that happened. Don't leave out anything. Don't worry. Manager Zhao and I will definitely uphold justice for you. When the other elder of the Xiao family heard this, he could not contain his anger and said, You're just an outsider. How dare you interfere and give advice to the Xiao family and uphold justice? You're really meddling in other people's business. Xiao Feng reprimanded. Don't be rude. Although he tried to stop him, his tone and manner showed that he felt this elder was right. Even the city lord's estate could not interfere in their family affairs. Chen Yin and General Manager Zhao acted as though they did not hear the subtext of his words. They were all thousand-year-old foxes and had to maintain a superficial cordiality. General Manager Zhao laughed heartily. Master Xiao, don't think that we're talking too much. We're just concerned. Moreover, this Lin Bai is indeed useful to our city lord. If there really is a misunderstanding, we can help resolve it. Although Xiao Feng was dissatisfied with Chen Yin and General Manager Zhao's actions, they were still from the city lord's estate. He had to give them some face, so he could only force a smile. After General Manager Zhao listened to Xiao Feng and Lin Bai's account, although Lin Bai was a suspect, there was indeed insufficient evidence. What could a blurry scene that was sent back prove? The members of the Xiao family had never seen Lin Bai's wooden sword with their own eyes. If they were mistaken, wouldn't they be killing innocent people? Master Xiao, I think what Alchemistjan said makes sense. Why don't you let us take Lin Bai away first? We'll also take good care of him. During this period, you can reinvestigate. This way, we can avoid falsely accusing good people, and we can also take Lin Bai back to report to the higher-ups. Wouldn't that be killing two birds with one stone? However, Xiao Feng did not agree. If Lin Bai escaped, then who would he go to reason with? Moreover, Chen Yin was here. Although he said it was fair and just, the two of them were old acquaintances. Who knew if he would help Lin Bai escape? Seeing that Chen Yin and Manager Zhao were exchanging words, Xiao Feng said stiffly, Please forgive me for not being able to comply. My son died too tragically outside. Now that the murderer is right in front of us, if I let him go, I simply don't deserve to be a father. Seeing that Xiao Feng was so stubborn, General Manager Zhao's smile gradually disappeared. Master Xiao, I know that our request is difficult, but I also hope that you can consider for us. The city lord's estate is heavily guarded. Not even a fly can fly out. Lin Bai will definitely not be able to escape. What else is there for you to be worried about? It's not that I'm worried about the city lord's estate. It's just that I'm worried about someone. Please don't mind it, Chief Zhao. Xiao Feng's gaze fell on Chen Yin. The meaning behind his words was self-evident. He was just short of mentioning that Chen Yin would let Lin Bai go. However, Chen Yin's intention to save Lin Bai was true. However, he really did not think of helping him escape. After all, the city lord's estate still had a mess to settle. He had asked Lin Bai to go over and save someone. Even if Lin Bai wanted to escape, he would not agree to it unless Lin Bai saved that person first. Don't worry, Master Xiao. I can distinguish between private and proper matters. I really have something important to ask of Lin Bai to go to the city lord estate. It's definitely not for some private matter. You can rest assured about this. Even so, Xiao Feng did not have any intention of relenting. Then tell me, Lin Bai is just a kid from the countryside. What is so special about him that for him to be invited to the city lord's estate? Who would believe this? Chen Yin could not tell him that the city lord was in imminent danger. They wanted to try a last resort. As long as there was even the slightest possibility, they would not give up. Chen Yin had great expectations for Lin Bai. Chen Yin could not say a word. In Xiao Feng's eyes, Chen Yin seemed guilty. He would not let Lin Bai go so easily. General Manager Zhao knew the inside story. He could not help but say, This is a secret related to the city lord's estate. We can't tell outsiders so easily. If Master Xiao is so curious, you'd better be mentally prepared. Once it gets out, I'm afraid that your entire Xiao family will. He was expressionless, and there was a hint of killing intent in his words. It did not seem like he was joking. Xiao Feng showed some hesitation on his face. It must be known that General Manager Zhao did not have a good impression of Lin Bai previously. It was probably because he was a little angry about the incident with the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf. However, he was now speaking up for Lin Bai. Although Chen Yin had a powerful master, it was not enough for a person like General Manager Zhao to go through so much trouble just to protect Lin Bai. Don't worry, Master Xiao. I will put it here today. As long as Lin Bai is in the City Lord's estate, we will definitely keep an eye on him and won't let him escape. You should carefully consider which is more important. In the end, General Manager Zhao added, I hope that Master Zhao can understand that it's not me or Alchemist Chun who wants him, but the City Lords who wants him. Seeing General Manager Zhao's solemn expression, Xiao Feng thought that no matter how bold he was, he would not dare to use the City Lord as an excuse. Xiao Feng had no choice but to say, then we'll do as you say. The Xiao family could not afford to offend the City Lord's estate. Since it was the City Lord's people, and with General Manager Zhao's guarantee, he had no choice but to hand Lin Bai over. Even so, he was worried that Lin Bai would still think of ways to escape. Xiao Feng said meaningfully, you can escape. The monk can't escape, but not the temple. Don't forget that you still have so many senior and junior brothers here. Lin Bai only smiled faintly at this. Those who are innocent will be innocent, and those who are unclean will be unclean. I hope that Master Xiao will properly investigate during this period of time and find the real murderer. Seeing that Lin Bai was taken away by the people from the City Lord's estate, the people from the Xiao family were somewhat unwilling, especially the third elder. He was about to deal with Lin Bai, but in the end, he was actually taken away by the people from the City Lord's estate at the last moment. Family head, are you just going to let them take Lin Bai away like that? They say nice things, but who knows if they'll do that? If they let Lin Bai escape in private, that kid is very cunning. I'm afraid it'll be difficult for us to find him again. Xiao Feng clenched his fists. Although he did not want to, he could not help but twist his leg. Don't tell me that you want me to go against the City Lord's estate? Unless the Xiao family did not want to stay in the capital city anymore. Even if the Xiao family was powerful, they could not compete with the City Lord. The third elder understood the stakes and immediately stopped talking. Although the Xiao family did not have any conclusive evidence, it seemed that Lin Bai was indeed the murderer. Initially, they thought that they could execute Lin Bai on the spot today so that they could avenge Xiao Yuchen. Yet, this event occurred out of nowhere. This Lin Bai is really strange. Previously, when he was troubled by the He family, he was protected by someone. Now that his identity has been exposed, the City Lord's estate appears. Isn't his luck a little too good? The other elders were discussing among themselves. The third elder snorted and said, so what if he's lucky? If we really prove that he's the murderer of the third young master, even if the City Lord personally appears, he won't be able to protect him. I'm just a little worried. What if he uses the City Lord's estate's convenience to escape? Hearing this, Xiao Feng's eyes immediately revealed an incomparably ruthless expression. He doesn't have the guts to run. So many senior brothers and sisters are in my hands. As long as he dares to run, I'll let all of them die together with my son. Bai He, Liao Fanyu, and the others still did not know what had happened in the hall. They said worriedly, what should we do? If senior brother Lin is brought there by them, will he meet with any mishaps? The person beside him comforted him. He should be fine for a while. Didn't they say that the people from the City Lord's estate seem to be looking for senior brother Lin? With them around, I think the Xiao family will not act rashly. Liao Fanyu's injuries had recovered a lot after he ate the medicinal pills to treat his injuries. Even so, his face was still a little pale. He said weakly, I'm afraid that the Xiao family will act rashly. We can't say for sure what Xiao Feng will do when he's in a rage. From his actions just now, we can see that he's taking his anger out on us. A few disciples were accidentally injured by Xiao Feng. Someone's shoulder was pierced with a bloody hole. It could be seen that Xiao Feng had struck heavily. Do you think that senior brother Lin really killed Xiao Yuchen? If that's the case, then what should we do? Although most of the people respected Lin Bai very much, there were quite a number of people who were afraid of death. They looked terrified, and there was a hint of resentment in their tones. Senior brother Lin is really too much. How did he get involved in this? Now, he has caused us to be implicated. If this matter cannot be resolved, then we will all suffer as well. One should take responsibility for one's actions. If senior brother Lin really did it, then he should just admit it directly. There are so many of us. We can't just die with him. That's right. The Shao family head only wants the real murderer. If senior brother Lin admits his crimes, then there shouldn't be anything done to us. A few people spoke one after another. How could the others not understand their thoughts? Luo Yulin, who had previously received Lin Bai's favor, could not help it. You bunch of ungrateful things. Have you forgotten how senior brother Lin saved all of you previously? Now that there's danger, you're thinking of pushing senior brother Lin out so that you can protect yourselves? Those few people were suddenly struck by their thoughts, and their expressions were a little embarrassed. We didn't mean that either. It's just that the Shao family took out evidence and said with certainty that senior brother Lin was the murderer. We're also thinking of the big picture and thinking for everyone. Luo Yulin did not hold back and said, "You're putting it in a grand way. I think you're all selfish and want to distance yourselves from him." What kind of evidence did the Shao family take out? First, no one saw senior brother Lin kill the young master with his own eyes. Second, what can a wooden sword prove? The Shao family doesn't have enough evidence. If they want to convict senior brother Lin, it's fine if you don't help him think of a way, but you actually directly convict senior brother Lin. You want him face the Shao family's anger so that you can retreat unscathed. Those few people lowered their heads when they heard this. Their faces turned green and white like a color palette. If I were you, I would keep quiet. Don't let me hear such ungrateful words again. After Luo Yulin said that, he walked to the side and distanced himself from those few people as if there was something dirty there. Although they were not convinced, they could not say anything. They only grumbled, "We're just casually complaining. Why are you being so unreasonable?" At this moment, Xiao Feng came back with the elders. Seeing that he did not say anything and Lin Bai did not come back with him, Bai he and the others could not help but guess. Before they could ask, Xiao Feng sneered, "Lin Bai is really lucky. With the city lord's estate protecting him, he has already been brought to the city lord's estate." Liao Fanyu, Luo Yulin, and the others could not help but heave a sigh of relief. However, don't be too happy too early. He can't hide forever. The city lord's estate won't protect him forever. When the time comes, I'll settle the score with him properly. Bai he knew that no matter what they said now, Xiao Feng would probably not listen to them. He could only say, "Master Xiao, I feel that this matter might really be a misunderstanding. The evidence in your hands is not enough to prove anything. Why don't you take this opportunity to investigate properly? You don't have to tell me. We know." Xiao Feng glanced at him coldly. "But let's be clear. During this time, you guys stay here and don't go anywhere. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." The implication was that he wanted to use them as hostages to threaten Lin Bai. "With you guys are here, there's no doubt Lin Bai will come back?" Bai he and the others' expressions changed. Wasn't this a disguised form of imprisonment? They quickly said, "Master Xiao, you have no right to imprison our freedom." "I don't have the right? Am I to let you all escape one by one so that Lin Bai will have nothing to worry about from now on? Do you really think I'm a fool?" Xiao Feng instructed his disciples to strictly guard Bai he. Other than that, there were also elders who would be guarding the courtyard. The purpose was to prevent them from escaping. You guys better pray for yourselves. If Lin Bai comes back, you guys will naturally be safe. If Lin Bai doesn't come back, he. Xiao Feng smiled coldly. The viciousness in his eyes was not concealed at all. He said in a low voice, "Then all of you can go and accompany my son." Lin Bai walked out of the gate and looked back with every step he took. Those who did not know him would think that he missed this place. Chen Yin could not help but say, "Why? You don't want to leave this place yet. If you continue to stay here, maybe Xiao Feng will change his mind and take your life directly." He had a belly full of doubts in his heart. Why would Lin Bai suddenly get involved in the incident of killing the third young master of the Shao family? Lin Bai shook his head. "I still have other brothers here. If I leave now, I'm afraid that Xiao Feng won't let it go and will harm them. There's nothing you can do if you go back now. If Xiao Feng really believes that you're the murderer, I'm afraid that your life will be lost. The other martial brothers will also be implicated by you. On the other hand, Xiao Feng won't dare to act rashly for the time being when you're in the city lord's estate. He won't attack them." What Chen Yin said made a lot of sense. Lin Bai also thought the same. After all, according to Xiao Feng's personality, he would definitely use these people to threaten him. If he attacked Bai He now, he would have no bargaining chips to threaten him in the future. Oh right, I haven't asked you how you're involved in this matter. Chen Yan's words pulled Lin Bai's thoughts into reality. Lin Bai shook his head. I've already said that it's a misunderstanding, but Xiao Feng, who was in a rage, didn't believe it. He insisted that I'm the murderer of his son. Lin Bai decided to keep the previous incident with Xiao Yuqin in his mind. No matter who asked about it, he would always say the same thing. However, Chen Yin was not a person who liked to gossip. The most important thing at the moment was the matter at the city lord's estate, so he did not have the mood to get to the bottom of it. To him, it was not important whether Lin Bai was the murderer of Xiao Yuqin. What was important was whether he had a way to cure the city lord's strange problem. Do you still remember what I told you about the city lord's estate? Lin Bai nodded. I remember. Chen Yin could not help but sigh. Fate had taken many twists and turns. He had originally thought that Lin Bai had no fate with the city lord's estate. After all, he had been chased out by the Alchemist Association, which meant that there was no longer any connection. Who would have thought that the city lord's situation was too serious now? It had suddenly become like this. He had no choice but to think of Lin Bai again. If it weren't for the city lord, Ren Ziyuan, Yan Hua, and the others wouldn't be in the situation to not want to give up even the slightest bit of hope and be willing to give Lin Bai a try. Otherwise, in the past, they definitely wouldn't have made such an exception and allowed Lin Bai to enter the city lord's estate. Moreover, he had already been expelled from the Alchemist Association. If the news were to reach He Qingyuan's ears, he was afraid that there would be a lot of trouble. Chen Yin said with a serious face, when you enter the city lord's estate, don't ask any questions. Keep what you see and hear a secret. If any news gets out, you will die without a burial place. Lin Bai couldn't help but be a little surprised when he heard that. He could see that the matter in the city lord's estate was more important than he had imagined. Otherwise, Chen Yin wouldn't have such an expression. General Manager Zhao was the same. His expression was even gloomier. If news were to spread to the outside world, not only you, even your family and friends would be hunted down by the city lord's estate. Then, he revealed a kind smile, and his tone became much gentler. Of course, you don't have to feel pressured. The city lord's estate has always been clear about rewards and punishments. If you do a good job and can resolve the city lord's urgent matter, we will also help you deal with the matters at the Xiao family's side. Giving a sweet date with just a slap. General Manager Zhao was very adept at using such a method. Moreover, he had just rescued Lin Bai from a crisis. If it were not for the sudden arrival of people from the city lord's estate, Lin Bai and the Xiao family would probably have a fierce battle in the end. Based on Lin Bai's current strength, although he could not defeat them, he should be able to barely escape. It was only because there were still Bai He and the others that it was not convenient for him to make a move. The arrival of General Manager Zhao and Chen Yin was indeed a timely reign for him. If it were anyone else, they would have long been grateful. However, it was different for Lin Bai. He had a premonition in his heart that the trip to the city lord's estate would not be easy. Don't worry, General Manager Zhao. I know the severity of the matter. I definitely won't say anything and delay the city lord's important matters. Lin Bai's thoughts turned a few times, but his face was full of gratitude. He looked like he was willing to die for the city lord. General Manager Zhao saw that Lin Bai was so tactful and nodded his head in satisfaction. In that case, it's good that you said this. When you arrive at the city lord's estate, remember to listen to Alchemist Jin. He will tell you what to do next. General Manager Zhao still had other matters to attend to. After handing Lin Bai over to Chen Yin, he left. Now that time was short. Chen Yin didn't have the time to tell Lin Bai about the cause and effect of the matter. The city lord is suffering from a very serious illness and is already on the verge of death. He needs to refine the legendary 9th grade medicinal pill, Xin Yuan pill, in order to save his life. However, it is still short of a few important medicinal ingredients. One of them is the inner core of the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf. Chen Yin cut to the chase and told Lin Bai about the stakes involved. No wonder he had asked the general manager to bring people to him to buy the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf. The position of a city lord was extremely important. Moreover, this continent was not peaceful. If the city lord fell or was seriously injured, it was inevitable that it would attract the covetous thoughts of others. It just so happened that these were troubled times. If people were to know, it would inevitably lead to another battle. Many factions would be affected, regardless of whether they would be involved or affected. In short, if there was a change in power, there would inevitably be a lot of trouble. Therefore, whether it was the Vice City Lord, Renzi Yuan, or the Alchemist Association, they all hoped that the City Lord could be cured as soon as possible. Of course, there was another reason for this, but it wasn't convenient to tell Lin Bai. Chen Yin said earnestly, "All in all, your mission is to develop the pill together with everyone. This is the pill formula. Take a good look at it, and you will have a good idea." He took out the pill formula. It was said that this recipe was obtained by the Vice City Lord and his men from an ancient mystic realm after a great struggle. It was said that they had lost quite a number of people at that time. Even he himself was seriously injured. Only then did he find this formula. Of course, the duplicate in Chen Yan's hand was not a secret. High-ranking alchemists all had it. As the saying went, when everyone gathers firewood, the flame is high. After gathering everyone's wisdom together, they would always think of a solution. The alchemist who came to the city lord's estate had signed a contract. Anyone who leaked information related to the city lord's estate would be punished terribly. The reason why Lin Bai did not sign the contract was because he was in a dangerous situation. In addition, a group of his senior and junior brothers had been detained by the Xiao family. Therefore, both Chen Yin and manager Zhao were more at ease. After all, smart people knew how to choose. Ginkgo grass, sky orchid fruit, 9th grade snow Ganoderma, 1,000-year-old spirit marrow liquid, howling moon celestial wolf inner core. The medicinal herbs on the pill formula were all extremely precious and rare. They were all priceless on the market and could not be bought even if one had money. Some of them were so rare that even Lin Bai had never heard of them. It was enough to show how precious this formula was. However, what made him most moved was that the pill refined from such a precious medicinal ingredient was actually to save the city lord's strange illness. What kind of illness was it that caused such a big fuss? For a moment, Lin Bai could not help but fall into deep thought. Oh right, the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf's inner core is an indispensable medicinal ingredient on the pill formula. Moreover, there is no other substitute for it. The Howling Moon Celestial Wolf is rare nowadays. It is simply too late to search for it elsewhere. Think carefully again. Where exactly did you set the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf free? Chen Yin suddenly said this, which was also what General Manager Zhao wanted. After all, they had searched the entire mountain and couldn't find any sign of the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf. Therefore, they suspected Lin Bai was lying, but he had no need to lie at all. Unfortunately, Lin Bai didn't have any other reaction, so Chen Yin didn't say anything more. You rest first. I'll bring you to see my master later. There's one more thing. The city lord's estate is heavily guarded. You can go anywhere you like in the pill refining hall and the medicinal garden. As for the other places, it's best not to wander around. Otherwise, if something happens, I won't be able to protect you. Chen Yin gave a few more instructions before turning around and leaving. Looking at his back, Lin Bai seemed to be deep in thought as he recalled the scenes he had seen along the way. Just from the outside, the city lord's estate looked calm and peaceful. There was nothing special about it. It seemed that other than the security being tighter, there was not much change. There was also nothing special about the surroundings. Logically speaking, if the city lord really had some strange illness, it should not look like this. Other than the medicinal fragrance that drifted over from time to time. Thinking up to this point, Lin Bai decided to go to the pill refining hall to take a look. The city lord's strange illness made him a little curious, but Chen Yan's explanation was vague. Presumably, even if he asked, he wouldn't be able to get anything out of it, so he might as well go investigate it himself. The closer he got to the main hall, the stronger the medicinal fragrance became. There was white smoke that hadn't dissipated for a long time coming from above his head. With the main hall as the center, it spread out in all directions. It was as if the entire building was shrouded in a layer of smoke, almost concealing its true appearance. This was enough to prove that someone was constantly refining pills here day and night. Walking in, he realized that many people were busy inside. Most of the alchemists in the city were probably gathered here. No wonder the He family couldn't find someone even when they wanted to find a grade 5 alchemist to treat He Lingqing's injuries. Although everyone sensed Lin Bai's arrival, no one raised their heads. Their expressions were hurried, and their gazes were focused on the furnace in front of them, as if the furnace in front of them was everything to them. Just as Lin Bai was looking around, someone suddenly said, "Are you new here?" Lin Bai looked towards the source of the voice. The person who spoke was a 30-year-old man. He looked extremely nice. Lin Bai nodded. The man could not help but mutter, "You're the only one who's new here? Then not many people came this time." Lin Bai did not say that he was brought here by Chen Yin. He only asked, "New people have been coming before?" The man nodded. "That's right. Those who have come here all came in batches. This is the first time I've seen you alone." Lin Bai saw that although there were many people in the main hall, there were still quite a number of pill furnaces that were empty. He asked, "Where did those people go? They don't seem to be here." The man shook his head and looked as if he did not think much of it. "There are too many people coming and going here. Who can remember clearly?" After saying that, he seemed to have thought of something and lowered his voice. "Some people disappeared unknowingly and then are replaced by a new batch of people. We don't dare to ask too much. In any case, they are helping the city lord. Perhaps those people have already left, or maybe the city lord wants them to carry out some other mission." He said it casually, but Lin Bai heard it in his heart. Through the words and actions of Chen Yin and manager Zhao, he always felt that the departure of these people was not so simple. The pill furnace in front of the man was emitting white smoke. It was obvious that the pill refinement had reached a critical moment. He immediately stopped distracting himself and focused on it. The others were in a similar state. Lin Bai wandered around. Seeing that he did not get any other news, he returned to his resting room and prepared to meditate and cultivate. Chen Yin said earnestly, "All in all, your mission is to develop the pill together with everyone. This is the pill formula. Take a good look at it, and you will have a good idea." He took out the pill formula. It was said that this recipe was obtained by the Vice City Lord and his men from an ancient mystic realm after a great struggle. It was said that they had lost quite a number of people at that time. Even he himself was seriously injured. Only then did he find this formula. Of course, the duplicate in Chen Yan's hand was not a secret. High-ranking alchemists all had it. As the saying went, when everyone gathers firewood, the flame is high. After gathering everyone's wisdom together, they would always think of a solution. The alchemist who came to the city lord's estate had signed a contract. Anyone who leaked information related to the city lord's estate would be punished terribly. The reason why Lin Bai did not sign the contract was because he was in a dangerous situation. In addition, a group of his senior and junior brothers had been detained by the Xiao family. Therefore, both Chen Yin and manager Zhao were more at ease. After all, smart people knew how to choose. Ginkgo grass, sky orchid fruit, 9th grade snow Ganoderma, 1,000-year-old spirit marrow liquid, howling moon celestial wolf inner core. The medicinal herbs on the pill formula were all extremely precious and rare. They were all priceless on the market and could not be bought even if one had money. Some of them were so rare that even Lin Bai had never heard of them. It was enough to show how precious this formula was. However, what made him most moved was that the pill refined from such a precious medicinal ingredient was actually to save the city lord's strange illness. What kind of illness was it that caused such a big fuss? For a moment, Lin Bai could not help but fall into deep thought. Oh right, the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf's inner core is an indispensable medicinal ingredient on the pill formula. Moreover, there is no other substitute for it. The Howling Moon Celestial Wolf is rare nowadays. It is simply too late to search for it elsewhere. Think carefully again. Where exactly did you set the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf free? Chen Yin suddenly said this, which was also what General Manager Zhao wanted. After all, they had searched the entire mountain and couldn't find any sign of the Howling Moon Celestial Wolf. Therefore, they suspected Lin Bai was lying, but he had no need to lie at all. Unfortunately, Lin Bai didn't have any other reaction, so Chen Yin didn't say anything more. You rest first. I'll bring you to see my master later. There's one more thing. The city lord's estate is heavily guarded. You can go anywhere you like in the pill refining hall and the medicinal garden. As for the other places, it's best not to wander around. Otherwise, if something happens, I won't be able to protect you. Chun Yin gave a few more instructions before turning around and leaving. Looking at his back, Lin Bai seemed to be deep in thought as he recalled the scenes he had seen along the way. Just from the outside, the city lord's estate looked calm and peaceful. There was nothing special about it. It seemed that other than the security being tighter, there was not much change. There was also nothing special about the surroundings. Logically speaking, if the city lord really had some strange illness, it should not look like this. Other than the medicinal fragrance that drifted over from time to time. Thinking up to this point, Lin Bai decided to go to the pill refining hall to take a look. The city lord's strange illness made him a little curious, but Chun Yan's explanation was vague. Presumably, even if he asked, he wouldn't be able to get anything out of it, so he might as well go investigate it himself. The closer he got to the main hall, the stronger the medicinal fragrance became. There was white smoke that hadn't dissipated for a long time coming from above his head. With the main hall as the center, it spread out in all directions. It was as if the entire building was shrouded in a layer of smoke, almost concealing its true appearance. This was enough to prove that someone was constantly refining pills here day and night. Walking in, he realized that many people were busy inside. Most of the alchemists in the city were probably gathered here. No wonder the He family couldn't find someone even when they wanted to find a grade 5 alchemist to treat He Linqing's injuries. Although everyone sensed Lin Bai's arrival, no one raised their heads. Their expressions were hurried, and their gazes were focused on the furnace in front of them, as if the furnace in front of them was everything to them. Just as Lin Bai was looking around, someone suddenly said, "Are you new here?" Lin Bai looked towards the source of the voice. The person who spoke was a 30-year-old man. He looked extremely nice. Lin Bai nodded. The man could not help but mutter, "You're the only one who's new here? Then not many people came this time." Lin Bai did not say that he was brought here by Chun Yin. He only asked, "New people have been coming before?" The man nodded. "That's right. Those who have come here all came in batches. This is the first time I've seen you alone." Lin Bai saw that although there were many people in the main hall, there were still quite a number of pill furnaces that were empty. He asked, "Where did those people go? They don't seem to be here." The man shook his head and looked as if he did not think much of it. "There are too many people coming and going here. Who can remember clearly?" After saying that, he seemed to have thought of something and lowered his voice. "Some people disappeared unknowingly and then are replaced by a new batch of people. We don't dare to ask too much. In any case, they are helping the city lord. Perhaps those people have already left, or maybe the city lord wants them to carry out some other mission." He said it casually, but Lin Bai heard it in his heart. Through the words and actions of Chun Yin and manager Zhao, he always felt that the departure of these people was not so simple. The pill furnace in front of the man was emitting white smoke. It was obvious that the pill refinement had reached a critical moment. He immediately stopped distracting himself and focused on it. The others were in a similar state. Lin Bai wandered around. Seeing that he did not get any other news, he returned to his resting room and prepared to meditate and cultivate. Ding! The host has passed on 30 days of cultivation to Little Treasure. He has successfully triggered 100 times return. The host has obtained a cultivation of 3,000 days. Little Treasure's body was one size bigger than before, but even so, he still looked small. He was only half the size of a palm and did not attract any attention. As if it had eaten too much, its small belly swelled up, and abundant spiritual energy surrounded its body. Then, it took a deep breath, and its belly became more and more round, making people wonder if it could still walk. Little Treasure might look like it had eaten too much and was laying on the ground lazily, not wanting to move, but his black eyeballs were rolling around, as if he would immediately jump up from the ground if there was the slightest movement. Beside him, Little Green and Little Black looked at him with envy. One of them was hanging from the beam of the house. Those who did not know it would have thought that it was some green vine. The other one was right outside the door. At first glance, it seemed that someone had put a rock there to block the way. Thanks to Chun Yin, Lin Bai was arranged to be in a single room. Moreover, the location was quite remote. There was hardly anyone around him, which allowed him to cultivate in peace. However, even so, Lin Bai didn't dare to let his guard down in the city lord's estate. He summoned Little Green and Little Black out for a breather, in case someone suddenly barged in. At this moment, the sun had already set in the west. Through the window, the setting sun cast a blood-red afterimage on the ground. Not far away, the setting sun was swallowed up. Gradually, it sank down from the top of the mountain, and the color became darker and darker, revealing an ominous feeling. When night fell, the surroundings of the city lord's estate had already been lit up. Looking at the specks of light not far away, Lin Bai knew that this was the best opportunity for him to take action. Using the cover of the night, it was just the right time to explore the city lord's estate. If was to be obedient and allowed Chen Yin to arrange things for him, his name would not be Lin Bai. Although he could be sure that Chen Yin did not have any bad intentions towards him and was doing things for his own good, Lin Bai was not a person who followed the rules. Moreover, he was really curious about what the so-called strange illness of the city lord was. On top of that, the mysteriousness of the city lord's estate was like a little bug that was constantly crawling around in his heart. If he did not uncover these things, he might not even be able to sleep well at night. Little Treasure, Little Black. It's time for us to set off. Little Treasure had a cultivation technique that allowed him to hide his figure. Unless someone with a particularly high cultivation level was able to discover it, an ordinary person would not be able to discover it at all. He also had a keen sense of danger. This was especially so now. After a few cultivation level increases, he had gained a few new skills. He could predict danger in advance and give a warning. The so-called walking alarm was truly too heaven-defying. Furthermore, it could break through spell formations and maze barriers. It could be said that it was an essential item for all major mystic realms. It was simply too useful. With Little Treasure around, even if Lin Bai was not familiar with the city lord's estate, he did not have to worry about making any mistakes. The safety factor had increased by several levels. Furthermore, Lin Bai's own cultivation technique was pretty good. Even if he could not win, he could still escape. If he could not escape, there was still Little Black here. Its overpowered defense could at least buy Lin Bai a lot of time. No matter if it was a sudden accident or a dangerous situation, Lin Bai would have time to deal with it. After he was ready, Lin Bai took the two little ones out. He blended into the night, like a shadow, wandering around the city lord's estate. The guards were still doing their job, and they changed shifts frequently. It was obvious how strict the guards were. Not even a fly could fly in. However, who could notice Lin Bai? After all, no one could notice a shadow. Lin Bai walked around the front yard and the backyard. With Little Treasure leading the way, he perfectly avoided all kinds of formations and restrictions. He didn't trigger any traps to attract anyone's attention. But strangely, there was no sign of the city lord. Could it be that the city lord is recuperating outside and not in the city lord's estate? Initially, he wanted to see what kind of situation the city lord was in and what kind of strange illness he was suffering from. However, other than Ren Ziyuan, General Manager Zhao, and a few respected elders of the Alchemist Association, no one else was allowed to see him. Therefore, Lin Bai could only think of this method. Lin Bai thought for a while and felt that it was unlikely. Since the city lord was sick, it was inevitable that there would be many unsafe factors outside. Moreover, if the city lord was not here, why would he deploy so many guards? Could it be a trap? Or is it a deliberate act to make it look like the security is tight? Lin Bai frowned. He had a feeling that he had overlooked something. He had a hunch that the city lord should be in the estate, but he couldn't find him. Could it be that there's a secret passage in the city lord's estate? The more he thought about it, the more likely he felt it was. His gaze fell on Little Treasure. Little Treasure, it's up to you now. Do you still remember the smell on General Manager Zhao's body during the day? Lin Bai thought that as the city lord's closest person, General Manager Zhao must have met the city lord before. Little Treasure had been in contact with General Manager Zhao before, so it remembered the smell. It could find the city lord by looking for General Manager Zhao's location. Soon, the two of them arrived at General Manager Zhao's bedroom. General Manager Zhao was not in the room, and Lin Bai was even more certain of his guess. Perhaps General Manager Zhao had gone to meet the city lord. Then, Little Treasure led the way, and Lin Bai came to a place after many twists and turns. If Yin Hua and the other elders were here, they would realize that this was the place they had come to before. As long as they passed the restriction, they would be able to enter the underground building. Little Treasure had stopped here, or more accurately, he was hesitating. His nose kept sniffing around in the air, as if he was looking for something. Lin Bai looked around. This place was close to the forbidden area of the City Lord estate, and there was an abandoned courtyard next to it. Normally, there would be no one around, so the security here was much more lax compared to other heavily guarded places. However, the more it was like this, the more strange it seemed. The City Lord's estate was surrounded like an iron bucket. How could they make such a mistake? Even though this was a corner and it was easy for people to forget about it, it didn't make sense. There was only one explanation. The people in power didn't want anyone to notice this place. The other places were heavily guarded, so that it was easier to attract the attention of people with ulterior motives. Thus, this place became inconspicuous and extremely safe. After all, this was how people thought. The more tightly guarded the place was, the more likely it was to be important. The City Lord's estate was so vast. If Little Treasure was not there, Lin Bai would probably have overlooked this place as well. Looks like this is the place where people can hide in the estate. Little Treasure was finally certain. His entire body emitted a soft and bright light, but it was not eye-piercing. Immediately after, the spiritual energy in the air began to swim rapidly. It was as if it had been activated, and it became especially active. Faint water ripples appeared in the air. At first glance, it seemed to cover the entire abandoned courtyard. Through a layer of darkness, no one could see what was inside. Little Treasure pointed inside and squeaked. Then, the layer of faint water ripples actually cracked open a crack in the middle. Needless to say, it was definitely the work of Little Treasure. No wonder people were so eager to find treasure-hunting rats. Lin Bai had never met any other treasure-hunting rats. However, Little Treasure's various means were heaven-defying. He opened the restriction effortlessly and didn't attract anyone's attention. Lin Bai's figure flashed and merged into the layer of water ripples. The night was as cold as water. The cold silver light landed on the ground and quietly watched everything. After a while, the water ripples gradually disappeared, and the place returned to its usual calm. It was as if nothing had happened. The world was spinning. Lin Bai took a moment to adapt to the dark environment around him. The night pearls on the wall were emitting a weak light, and only then did he see clearly that he had already gone to another place. Could this be the underground of the City Lord's estate? Lin Bai fumbled his way forward carefully. Looking at the unfathomable tunnel, it was as if he had arrived at the belly of some monster. The road ahead was pitch black, as if there was no end to it, and he would never be able to reach the end. He could not help but wonder if he would reach hell if he continued walking like this. A cool breeze blew over, which was enough to prove that the road ahead was connected to the ground. Lin Bai continued to quicken his pace. Since there was no fork in the road, he did not need Little Treasure to lead the way. It laid on Lin Bai's shoulder. The man and the mouse walked for half a day. The path ahead gradually became spacious, and the road became smooth. Lin Bai could see that although there were traces of man-made construction, these karst caves and stone pillars seemed to be formed naturally. He could not help but have some doubts in his heart. If it was man-made, who would have such great wealth and ability to build such a huge building under the City Lord's estate? Besides the City Lord himself, Lin Bai could not think of anything else. But why would the City Lord build such a secret passage? But if it was not man-made, then did the City Lord know about the existence of such a building, or was it discovered later? Or did he deliberately build the City Lord's estate here in order to conceal the existence of this building? From these karst caves and stone pillars, it could be seen that they were quite old. Lin Bai could not trace what era they were from. He could not figure it out no matter how much he thought about it. In short, the City Lord's estate could be said to be full of oddities. From the beginning, when Chan Yin and General Manager Zhao told him that the City Lord was suffering from a strange illness to the discovery of such a secret passage, there seemed to be a connection between the two. Roar. A beast roar pulled Lin Bai's thoughts back to reality. He suddenly looked forward. It was still pitch black, and he couldn't see anything. It was as if the sound just now was just an illusion. However, Little Treasure was staring in that direction. All the hair on its body stood on end, and its expression was full of vigilance. It was said that beasts were more sensitive than humans. Moreover, Little Treasure was exceptionally sensitive to danger and could even warn in advance. It was clear that there must be something in front of him. Although there was nothing unusual about the spiritual energy fluctuations in the air, and it looked exceptionally calm, Lin Bai did not dare to let his guard down. Roar! The sound came again. This time, Lin Bai heard it clearly. It was coming from up ahead. It was like the roar of a wild beast, and it seemed to be mixed with the painful moans of humans. Just as Lin Bai was about to approach, he heard faint footsteps. His body flashed, and he quickly hid at the corner. What should we do? Not only is the city lord's condition getting worse, his attacks are becoming more and more frequent. If this continues, I'm afraid. Yin Hua's face was full of worry. The city lord chased us out just now. I'm afraid he's already. Hearing his words, Ren Ziyuan's heart was in his throat. Then what should we do now, Elder Yin? We have to think of a way. We can't let the city lord continue like this. Yin Hua sighed helplessly. The current plan is to gather all the ingredients and refine the pill as soon as possible. Even if the ingredients are complete and the pill is successfully refined, I'm not 100% sure. Then what should we do? We can only do our best and leave it to fate. The two people's expressions were not very good. They were thinking about the city lord's illness, but it did not matter. At this moment, there was another person here. When the footsteps gradually faded away, Lin Bai walked out from the corner. Judging from the tone of these two people, it seems that the city lord is not in a good condition, and his condition is getting worse and worse. What kind of strange disease is it? Listening to the discussions of Yin Hua and Ren Ziyuan, the two of them were also vague and didn't say anything. It seemed that they were very cautious and didn't even talk about it much. Looking at the darkness in front of them, even the light from the night pearls on the wall was much dimmer, giving off an ominous and strange feeling. Lin Bai only hesitated for a moment before walking over. Little Treasure's claws gripped tightly onto Lin Bai's clothes, and its bean-sized eyes stared forward as if it was facing a great enemy. The closer he got to the front, the clearer the roar became. At the same time, Lin Bai also felt a great pressure. It was different from spiritual pressure. It was as if it came from another source of energy. He felt as if someone was strangling his throat. It almost made him unable to breathe. A suffocating feeling surged up. It made his footsteps slow down a lot. However, the strange thing was that Little Treasure was not affected at all. It sensed Lin Bai's discomfort and waved its little claws. He could see the worry in its eyes. Lin Bai shook his head and said, "Don't worry, I'm fine." Perhaps because he had been under too much pressure, even his voice had become a little hoarse. It was like an old bellows with a hole in it that was blowing with the wind. He had a tenacity and stubbornness about him. He would not give up until he achieved his goal. Now that he had finally reached this place, if he did not see what was going on with the city lord, he would return empty-handed. Lin Bai was absolutely unwilling to accept this. He continued to walk forward. It was as if there was a huge rock weighing down on his body. Every step he took was exceptionally difficult. Just a few steps away, Lin Bai was already covered in sweat and panting. Bean-sized beads of sweat slid down his cheeks, making his face look especially pale. Lin Bai's speed was much slower than before. At this moment, he could be considered as a tortoise, only a little faster than a snail. Lin Bai was already drenched in sweat. His clothes were wet, and he looked as if he had just been scooped out of the water. He walked unsteadily, as if he only needed one last straw to completely crush him. Little Treasure saw that it was so difficult for him to move forward, so it obediently jumped off Lin Bai's shoulder and helped him reduce his weight. Although it wasn't heavy, it was better than nothing. Little Treasure was so relaxed as it moved back and forth in front of him. In order to match Lin Bai's turtle speed, it had no choice but to walk a few steps before stopping and waiting. It could be seen that this mysterious power had no effect on the pet beast. However, he didn't know why it was targeting humans. Had Yin Hua and Ren Ziyuan experienced it before? Lin Bai finally managed to move over, but the roar suddenly stopped. It was quiet in front of him. There was no movement. He could only hear his own breathing. Silent panic spread here. he suddenly felt an even greater pressure, and all the hair on his body stood on end. Every pore on his body was crazily screaming that there was danger. It was almost the instinctive reaction of his body when faced with danger. Even Lin Bai himself didn't realize it in time. He suddenly bent down and rolled on the ground. It was as if there was a blade brushing past his scalp, causing his scalp to feel a little numb. Lin Bai prostrated on the ground and did not dare to act rashly because he did not know what that thing was. That feeling could not be described, but it was extremely dangerous. The icy cold feeling carried a bone-piercing chill, and countless goosebumps appeared on his skin. He was like a person walking on a tightrope on a cliff, and the slightest carelessness would cause his body to shatter into pieces. After a moment, that dangerous feeling finally passed. Lin Bai's heart, which was hanging in his throat, was also relieved. He carefully stood up and continued to walk forward. What exactly was that thing just now? If it was anyone else, they would have long since backed out when they encountered such a dangerous situation. However, Lin